What's up, everybody? It's your favorite reveals, favorite nerd, and today we're going to look at some of these Fanstoys reveals that have been popping up over the past couple days. Namely, the Warpath, the Brawn, and the Skydive, I think. I can't ever keep the name straight of the aerial bots for whatever reason. Them and the Technobots I struggle with. Doesn't matter. Anyway, these pictures got revealed recently, and it wasn't long after that the hate started rolling in, which is going to be a separate conversation that we're going to have with maybe some friends here shortly, but more details on that later, man. Let's start with the Brawn. So we get painted images of both the truck and robot modes. First of all, they do look great sculpt-wise. I think they're unparalleled. I don't think that anybody has released anything that looks as good as this in regard to these characters, but let's pick it apart a bit. One of the common complaints that I'm hearing are people saying that the colors are too metallic, and to those people, I think that's a silly criticism. I just don't think it's on par or consistent with the criticisms regarding this company, and I think most people that buy stuff from this company prefer the metallic paint. However, I do think that the color is a bit off. Let's look at a comparison real quick. Thanks to Keem, that dude is on it. But he put images up of the alt mode and the robot mode, and as a result, we get a bit better look. So it does look like the Fanstoys truck mode is a little elongated. However, it does make it look a bit more realistic and less cartoony, which I like. I like that original Masterpiece aesthetic where the alt modes looked real world, and how that manipulated to the robot, in my opinion, tends to make the robot look more believable as well. But there have been some changes here from the cartoon to the finished product. This is one of the things I mainly talk about regarding that more mature aesthetic. Look how more heroic the proportions look on the Fanstoys, as opposed to the kind of dumpy look that the G1 model had. Yet, the silhouette, from the head, shape of the body and arms, shape of the legs to include the triangular feet, are all in homage and in spirit and accurate to the G1 model. It's just like they take the G1 model and they fix the proportions. I love it. But as you can see, the color is off. The G1 is more of a green, the Fanstoys is more of an olive, but I do have to ask, and this is both in regard to the metallic question and the color scheme question, is it because of the harsh lighting for the pictures? And we won't know that until we know that, when we get regular in-hand images, seeing it under normal everyday light. But with that being said, I love all of the details. I love the band around the knees. I think they're just getting better and better with their face sculpts. Little extra sculpted details like in the thighs, shoulders, and feet, which I'm guessing is mainly due to engineering, all helps present a more robotic looking representation of the G1 model, in my opinion. My only concern, once again, is with the paint, and not in regards to metallics, in regard to color. Let's move on to Warpath. Once again, alt mode images, robot images. Looks like the treads are going to be die cast. That should add some nice weight to the figure. And once again, I think that they have the heroic sculpt. They took the G1 model and fixed the proportions. The arms don't sit as low on the robot, which causes the turret to look more like a chest than it does in the cartoon model, where it looks more like a weird football-shaped neck. This is one where I feel like the sculpted detail really helps. Extra sculpted detail in the thighs, and especially the lower legs and forearms. The shoulders may be a bit too much, but I don't think any of it is a deal breaker, and I think once again it pays homage respectfully and in the spirit of the G1 model while maintaining a more mature aesthetic. And I use that term a lot, and obviously it's subjective, but I can only speak from my point of view. The alt mode I think looks great. I think the turret looks more real world, less squished, once again less football-y. I love how they maintained the color in the back, the silver to the gray. I think a lot of times in the cartoon they painted things gray because they didn't have silver, but they're supposed to be silver, and that's kind of how I've always imagined it, so that's true to form as well. And once again, all of those details in the sculpt help present a more realistic looking tank, which I think is welcomed and a better aesthetic choice. There are those bump outs that sit behind the turret. I'm not sure how I ultimately feel about them, but they are a small detail. I imagine they're more in tune to the engineering, and I'm not sure how I feel about them in robot mode either, but I'm guessing it's a necessity. Now, it does look like he will have a backpack that juts out, but once again, it looks natural to me. It doesn't look obnoxious. It looks clean, and it looks part of the aesthetic. It looks like it belongs. And also, side note, I can't help but think where the QC stickers are going to go on these guys. It's like my thing with Fanstoys now. I'm like, where are they going to put that little green circle? And I'm guessing right here. I just killed a fly. Real time. I'm going to hang it up so it can be a message to their friends. Summertime is here, I suppose. Anyway, I think it's going to go on the back of the calf of Warpath. And let's play the same thing with Brawn. It's a bit trickier. I'm going to say the front of the shin, but who knows? But yeah, I think Warpath looks great. The color is a bit more of a cherry red, I feel like, than a burgundy. So once again, I would like it to be a little bit more burgundy. However, I have to ask myself if this isn't a result of the harsh lighting for the quote-unquote professional promo photos. Anakin, mannequin, panicking. Anyway. And the turret, I feel like, is accurate to the G1 model. However, I'd be lying to you if I didn't say I wish it were a bit longer, so to speak. And the screws are a bit pronounced on the back of the shoulders, but they got to go somewhere, right? It might as well be there. And lastly, our aerial bot. Our first look at their line, which seems to be ready to go. I think they're going to be releasing a lot of figures this year. I've said that at the top of the year, and everything that they're doing suggests a reinforcement of that theory. But this one was the one I was kind of most taken back by. I think this looks outstanding. And looking at the G1 model, they really kept all those sculpted details in, even to include the small little line suggestions in the side of the chest plate. Now, they did add an abdomen area. However, that's consistent with what I've been talking about in regard to fixing the proportions of a childish cartoon that was meant for children that we all loved as such, and then preferring a more heroic look later on. Right on par with that. Now, he is going to have a tremendous backpack, there's no doubt about it. However, that's also true to the model of the cartoon. So it's one of those things that we should be expecting. But look at the care they took in the lower legs, look at the care they took in the forearms. Look at the sculpted care they took in both the chest and pelvis to make sure that all of the iconic elements, and to be truthful, they're not even iconic, they're more like subdued, subtle, minute little details. But they carried them all over in their translation. The alt mode looks great, however, it's definitely going to be a robot sitting underneath the jet. I think in that regard, the Zeta ones probably pulled this off better in regard to alt mode. However, look at that blue metallic paint on the back of that wing. Love it. Even though it's a lighter color than what was in the cartoon model, I still think it's striking, and I still think it's one of those details that we often forget about, but they didn't. Now, they also took a more real-world approach to the jet in general in regard to the frame of it, not so much the underneath parts, and I think it's a wise choice. I think it's one of those things that if you take the time there, all of those things will translate and carry over into the robot mode, and I think he knows it as well as he sits on his little pile of rocks contemplating life. I dig that, but they might want to get a few more dioramas. These rock piles are starting to get a little played out. And they showed him next to Silverbolt, and I love the size there as well. Like, I feel like the differential between Silverbolt and the Limbots are going to be perfect. Like, I feel like that is about where they should be in regard to one another. Now, ultimately, they're going to be bigger than most all of the other Masterpiece figures, but that's going to allow for a bigger combined mode that I think most people prefer over the robot modes being entirely accurate in regard to scale. They can only mass shift so much at the end of the day. But yeah, looking at these photos, I really feel like the only gripe that really stands out to me is I feel like the colors of Brawn are off. I don't know if it'll ultimately bother me, and I want to see it underneath regular lights, but that's the one thing that kind of stands out to me. I feel like the criticisms that I'm seeing are so inconsistent in regard to how most of the fandom criticizes other companies that, like I said, it is going to cause a discussion on this channel very soon, and I will be bringing along a fair amount of friends to help chime in, hopefully to create a balanced and interesting conversation regarding this company and its consistency and inconsistency with how their products are received amongst the fandom. I know the common kind of joke is that Fanstoys doesn't release product, that they're not as prolific as they should be, but let's take a look at what they've put out recently. Hoodlum, Six Shot, Quietus, Road King, and who knows how much of this stuff is going to hit soon. Now take whichever one of those came first and then compare it to other companies in terms of release, scheduled releases, and actual distribution of those releases. And that's what I'm talking about in regard to consistent criticism. But either way, it looks like they have a lot of stuff coming, and it looks like a lot are coming soon. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Until next time.